Recording.
Okay, you can get started.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the November 10th, 2021 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. My name is Kyle Athied, and I am the chair of CB6. This meeting is being called to order at 7:04 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Secretary Matt Bondi, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth, and Community Associate Alexandra Crawford. Tonight, in order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. First, no one may speak until granted the floor. 2, CB6 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. Next, the chat function should not be used for CB6 business or questions about agenda topics. Any and all such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a member is given the floor to speak, I, as the chair, will first identify you, and then you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. We are required by New York State law to have a transcript of this meeting, so please keep all questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. And last but not least, to the members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session tonight and have not already registered by filling out the form on the CB6 website ahead of time, you can register to speak in the public session by using the Q&A feature of Zoom and posting your name, affiliation, and what specific topic you wish to speak about. This must be completed by 7:15 p.m. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom.
Move to adopt the agenda.
All right, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We will now take attendance by roll call. Please unmute yourself and answer present when your name is called.
I'm going to ask that the board assist me in this because I'm having technical capability issues with the Airtable. Can Brendan or Jesus take the role?
We can do that.
Thank you.
All right. I will call your name and please unmute yourself and answer present. Kyle Athied.
Present.
Thank you. Azia Badi is not able to join us tonight. Neil Barkley.
Present.
Thank you. Martin Barrett.
Present.
Thank you. Elvi Barroso.
Present.
Thank you. Matt Bondi.
Present.
Thank you. Claire Brennan.
Present.
Thank you. Jim Collins.
Present.
Thank you. Stuart Desser.
Present.
Thank you. Michael Devereaux.
Present.
Thank you. Daniel Devine.
Present.
Thank you. Beatrice Disman.
Present.
Thank you. Jeannie D'Onofrio.
Present.
Thank you. Richard Eggers.
Present.
Thank you. Charles Fernandez.
Present.
Thank you. Eric Goldberg.
Present.
I'll call that again. Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Thank you. Andrew Gross. Andrew Gross. Keep in mind that I can't actually see the screen, so we'll say absent for right now. Adam Hartkey is not able to join us. Molly Hollister.
Here.
Thank you. Paige Judge.
Here.
Thank you. John Keller.
Present.
Thank you. Abigail Kruzmark.
Present.
Thank you. Sandra Leftoff.
Present.
Thank you. Anton Malner.
Present.
Thank you. Tabitha Matthew.
Present.
Thank you. Sandy McKee.
Present.
Thank you. Wells Magali.
Present.
Thank you. Rich Mintz.
Present.
Thank you. Phil Napolitano. Phil Napolitano. I'm not hearing anything. Raj Nayar.
Present.
Thank you. Kevin O'Keefe.
Present.
Thank you. Stephen O.
Present.
Thank you. Rachel Patel.
Present.
Thank you. Matt Roberts.
Present.
Thank you. Dean Santoro. I believe he may not be able to join us tonight. Larry Shire.
Present.
Thank you. Ann Seligman. Ann Seligman.
Present.
Thank you. Lou Sapersky.
Yo.
Thank you. Seema Shah. I believe is not able to join us tonight. Sean Sherman.
Present.
Oh,
Present.
sounding very young tonight, Sean. Sandro Sherrod.
Present.
Thank you. Letty Simon.
Present.
Thank you. Susan Steinberg.
Present.
Thank you. Anju Suresh.
Present.
Thank you. Mark Thompson. Mark Thompson.
I see him on, but I don't know if he's having technical difficulties.
We'll come back to him later. Corinne Vanderdonk.
Present.
Thank you. Brian Van Nieuwenhoven.
Present.
Thank you. Maura Wong.
Hi, thanks. Present.
Thank you. Ronnie White.
Present.
Thank you. Claude L. Winfield. Claude L. Winfield. Oh, I'm not hearing anything. All right, one last time, Mark Thompson. Okay. Well, we do have a quorum. You may proceed.
All right, thank you, Jesus. So I have asked all of our elected officials to send over their reports ahead of time so that we can compile them. You can find all of the reports that were submitted to CB6 on our website. The link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time to all board members and the general public, and for your convenience can now be found in the chat below. I will now call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP'd so that they can take questions from CB6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will have 1 minute to field questions. If there are no questions, we will move on to the next elected official on our list. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have 3 minutes to do so. During this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. First up, we have Assembly Member Epstein. Is the Assembly Member here or Joanna here?
Hello, everyone. My name is Joanna. Assemblymember Epstein should be here shortly. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on and we'll call on the Assembly Member when he arrives.
Thank you.
No problem. Pat Hill from Councilmember Powers' office. Pat? I think you're still muted, Patrick.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Kyle.
No worries.
No other updates here. If anyone has any questions on the report we submitted, I'm here. Or if there's any questions on anything else, I'm all ears, as well as I'll post my contact information in case anyone wants to reach out offline.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Are there any questions for Councilmember Powers' office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, Patrick, appreciate it and look forward to the contact information in the chat.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next up, we have Katie Lowe from Councilmember Rivera's office. Katie, are you here?
Hey, everyone. Good to be here. Thank you so much. The only thing I want to say is big thanks to the community board for co-sponsoring our Rat Academy yesterday. I think people found it really entertaining and informative. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you to the council member. Are there any questions for Councilmember Rivera's office from the board or from the public? Jesus, I see we have a question from the public.
Hi, I'm just a concerned citizen about the shelter that was supposed to be open on 161 Lexington Avenue and 30th Street. It's something that the community has not been aware of and found out through a building that was attached to the hotel. And I just wanted to know what is the progress with that, and whether the decision to allow Project Renewal to start a temporary shelter program, was there any studies, was there any conversation with the community? And if not, why that has not happened?
So Harry, I'm not sure exactly what, so the Project Renewal shelter at 161 Lexington has been operating since about March 2020. And there were a lot of discussions in Community Board 6 and with the neighbors, and our office has always been willing to answer questions about it. So why don't you shoot me an email and we can discuss this offline, because I know the Community Board has already discussed it a lot already. So, but I'm very happy to have a discussion with you.
And Harry, I will also just repeat what has been put in the chat as well. So in the last discussion that we had with Project Renewal, they informed us that they are ending their temporary shelter program at this site by the end of the year, which was as planned, and that they confirmed that they will cease all operations at the site entirely at the time. So that's the information that we have regarding that. And if there are any other follow-up questions, as Katie mentioned, feel free to connect with us offline on that. But that's the most recent and most updated information we have.
Yeah, and thank you very much. I will send an email, but what I just want to clarify that we knew about the shelter being temporary until this year, but then there was it was going to become a permanent shelter. That something happened, and I guess with the some bond issue with the company that was supposed to take over, and that was the question of turning it permanent was the question.
Right. So yes, as mentioned, it's not going to be permanent. So I guess that answers the question.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Councilmember Rivera's office? All right. Seeing none. Thank you very much, Katie. All right. Next up, we have Ling Jun from District Attorney Vance's office.
Hi everyone, this is Ling Jun Chen from the DA's office. Thank you for having me here. I don't have anything else to add to my report, but if you have any question, feel free to ask.
All right. Are there any questions for Ling Jun at District Attorney Vance's office from the board or from the public? All right. Seeing none. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And if you could put your contact information in the chat.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Alex from Assembly Member Court's office.
Hi, everyone. Alex here. I don't have anything to add to our report, but I'm happy to take questions and drop my contact info in the chat.
Thank you, Alex. Are there any questions for Assembly Member Court's office from the board or from the public?
Yeah, this is here.
All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Alex. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Next up, we have Taylor from Representative Maloney's office.
Yes.
Hi, so the only update that I have from last Wednesday when I submitted the report was that on Friday, we passed the infrastructure bill, finally. And we're hopefully next month at the meeting, I get to tell you about how we passed Build Back Better too, and that'll be great. If folks have questions, I might have answers if it's in regards to the federal legislation, but if I don't have answers, my email's open and I'll connect with the folks there too.
Thank you, Taylor. Again, want to thank the representative particularly for advocating for the East Greenway, which we discussed a couple months ago in relation to this bill. So we're very excited that it has been passed finally. And so we look forward to continuing on that work together. Are there any questions for Representative Maloney's office from board members or from the public? All right, seeing none. Thank you so much, Taylor. Appreciate it. All right, next up, we have Artie from Senator Kruger's office.
Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, I can't share my screen at the moment, but I just thought I'd highlight two things from our report we gave. The first is that we're hosting a Medicare open enrollment virtual town hall next Thursday from 2 to 3:30. Open enrollment is ending on December 7th. So if you want to switch your plan, you want to learn about different plans and from the experts, please join us there. You can find the information in the report or for my contact info. And then the other thing is that our world famous senior resource guides are out and have been published. They look great. So if you haven't ordered one, please do by contacting our office or me. And it's not just for people, in the area. You can tell your senior friends who live in, around New York City. So if there are any questions, I would love to take them now.
Thanks, Artie. We have a question from board member Jim Collins. Jim, go ahead.
I saw in one of the senator's mailers that she had sponsored a law that's similar to the California law that just recently went into effect that would require gardening companies and lawn maintenance companies to convert over to all electric mowers and hedge trimmers, it's weed whackers, et cetera. And I've read some of the stuff that's happening with respect to California, and it's a big push on big problem for relatively small businesses, principally that they will have to lay higher voltage lines into whatever storage sheds they have. And that can cost tens of thousands of dollars. I'm just wondering when she anticipates this will be, when she expects these people to convert over to all electric vehicles, all electric instruments. It's extremely expensive. And in addition, the crews will have to carry additional batteries for a single day, which also have to be fully charged. So you're talking several, tens of thousands of dollars to lay the power line, plus I presume several thousand to replace the equipment. So I'm just wondering when she's imagining this will happen. It's been a tough time for small businessmen, as you know.
Of course, Jim. Thank you for your question. I do want to make it clear about what this legislation is, that it is not banning non-electric equipment. It's actually offering rebates for that equipment. So it's an incentive to get people to do it. So it's literally giving them money to do it. So which could actually be helping small businesses, and it helps the environment and it helps the workers because that stuff is extremely unsafe for people's health. So if you want to talk about it further, you have my contact info, but and I'll put it in the chat. But we should be clear about what it is.
Also, do you anticipate that this is going to be a requirement for the city parks department? The state parks departments.
It's not a requirement. It is a rebate. So we're not actually taking these leaf blowers out of people's hands and making them buy electric ones. There's a rebate. So I don't know if the city will do that. If the city wants to switch to more, their equipment, I say that's good for the environment and good for people. So thanks for your question. And I'll put my contact info in the chat if you want to talk more.
All right. Next up, we have Ronnie. Ronnie, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I really think that the small business owners would take advantage of the incentive of switching over to electric powered tools. The gas tools, one of those leaf blowers that is gas operated, and just in a use of a certain time period, say like an hour or two, emits the same amount of emissions as if you drove your car from somewhere in the Southeast all the way through Canada to Alaska. So it's a win-win. So thank you for this legislation, and I'm for sure that small businesses will take advantage of that and help with all of that. So thank you.
I'd be curious to see where that data came from.
Great,
That doesn't sound reasonable.
Okay. Let's if you have any further questions on this topic, we can follow up with Artie. Kevin, is this a question about this same topic, or is this a new topic? Because we do have a member from the public, and I'd like to move on from this topic.
It's a quick update, and I can certainly dip into it if need be in my report. But the information, Jim, that was cited, that's from the esteemed journalist James Fowles, who's done deep research on this and about how you take a Ford F-150 pickup truck, drive it 3,800 miles. It's about the same as 1 hour of gas use on a leaf blower. That's all.
All right, so let's continue this conversation offline. We have
driving to Alaska. Excuse me, that's the same distance as driving to Alaska.
So let's move on from this topic. We have a question from the public. Zandra, please go ahead. And you're on mute right now, Zandra.
I don't have a question.
Zandra, do you have a question or you don't?
I don't.
Oh, okay. I saw your hand up. All right. Thank you, Artie. I see no further questions for Senator Krueger. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. I'll put my information in the chat.
Thank you. Next up, we'll go to Borough President Gail Brewer, who has joined us tonight. Borough President, thank you for your attendance tonight.
Thank you very much, Kyle and Mr. Chair. Just something that's not in Board 6, but is just south of you. Today, we announced with Governor Hochul $20 million to the Chinatown community for commercial and cultural enhancement. To me, it was my idea to hire a grant writer to get all the groups in Chinatown together and then to apply to the what they call the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. It comes out of the Empire State Development, the REDC, which is Regional Economic Development Corp. In the past, other boroughs got the money, and then last year there was no money, as you can imagine. So this year, instead of having 10 million, the state upped it to 20 million, and 10 regions are allocated money. This is the first region to be announced, and it's really exciting. So I am pleased. I was glad the governor announced it today, and Chinatown now has 18 months to work together to plan mostly for the projects that they have outlined for the $20 million. So it's a big deal. And Chinatown has had a lot of economic and other losses in the last few years. So exciting. I also testified today, I don't know, these congressional lines, there is a redistricting commission, as you know. I just want to make sure that in Manhattan anyway, that we don't get cut up too much. So the idea would be to try to keep along the north, south and west and east, and not have the districts be cut up in ways that would not make sense. Maloney, Nadler, Nydia downtown, Espaillat uptown seems to make sense. They obviously have boroughs in addition to Manhattan, but you have to be careful because there would be changes that could be too drastic for our particular borough. I also want to just mention we're endlessly fighting these damn helicopters. We just recently had a press conference. We had 30 members, New Jersey, Manhattan, and Brooklyn sign on saying, please pass the federal legislation, which I don't know if it's going to pass. It would say no helicopter can fly over a city of 8 million or more. At the same time, we continue to have people leave Manhattan, go to New Jersey, get on a helicopter, come back to Manhattan, take pictures, make everybody crazy with their flying over and go back to New Jersey. We just want to stop the whole thing. So we're working on it. I can't say we've been that successful, but it's an endless fight. And even while we were standing at the West Side heliport, you could just smell the fumes coming from the helicopter, not to mention the noise. I know that you're working on the resiliency work on the East River. I just had a tour walking around with a hard hat with this section that is in Community Board 6. Yeah, I know it's super controversial. We wrote a letter to the folks at the mayor's office and to DDC with all of our, I think you got a copy of it, all the issues we want addressed. But I want people to continue to show up at the CAG. I know there's a temporary restraining order at this moment, so we'll see how long that lasts. I just want to also say, do not forget to join us every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. We have discussions about vaccine and this gazillion dollars that's coming in from the federal government. That's what we had the discussion about yesterday. I also want to mention that we know January 15th, open meeting day is going to be closing, and we have to figure out what's going to happen, hybrid or not. But the owls that have an ability to have a really good hybrid meeting that we're donating and giving to every community board are going to be picked up. They're available, and then we're going to do training. December 12th, we're going to have at John Jay College a Manhattan Future huge conference and refreshments and so on and so forth. And you're welcome to join us. And I just want to make sure that people know that the community leadership training series is going to be ending soon. But we have one on the 12th and we have one on the 15th. And the 15th one is one that the community boards have been asking for because it's on implicit bias. And it's a wonderful, wonderful person who's doing the leading of that workshop. There is lots of money for opioids. That's the other thing I want to mention. Opioids from the Sackler family, thanks to the Attorney General. I always like to follow the money. And Midtown needs help. 125th Street needs help. My understanding that the $256 million allocated to the city are going to be allocated to groups in January. So I want to make sure that Board 6, I know it plenty of needs to get some of that funding. I also want to say thank you to your support of some of the hotels that could end up being permanent housing. Very frustrating because there are some legal challenges to doing it. And I know one of them is in Board 6 and it's making me really angry. So we're trying to get that straightened out, but it's very, very hard. And the fact that, you have a hotel that happens to have, will end up with stabilized, permanent housing and that the city of New York can't figure out how to do it, it's making me livid. So we're continuing to work on it. But I also want to thank Board 6. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Borough President. We actually have a question for you from Matt Bondi. Matt, you have the floor.
Thank you, Kyle. Hi, Borough President. I appreciate all the work you do for the neighborhood. Thank you very much. My little girl goes to a school where in the neighborhood where demand for the vaccine exceeded supply. And I'm curious because I've been following your newsletter for the last 2 years and it's very informative and I like it a lot, whether you know of any plans to restock those schools so that they can meet the demand.
Did we lose the borough president? Oh. Borough President Brewer, can you hear us?
Yes, did you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, what I said was we should talk offline to be able to find a way to address your issue because I can't do it right now, but I would be glad to work with you on it. I know what you're talking about.
All right.
Nope. Great, thank you.
All right, we have another question from Harry from the public.
The hotel that you just mentioned, could you tell us which one it is?
Sure, I'd be glad to. There were actually two. The project Renewal, I believe is 39th and Lex, had a hotel that was going to be permanent housing. I'm not supportive of transitional. And my understanding is, and I'm being very general because I don't know all the specifics, is that the law department thinks that, even though there are rent stabilized tenants in so many of these hotels, that it's not possible for it to be converted from hotel to rent stabilized. I don't understand it. It makes me crazy. So, other hotels, there are rent stabilized tenants all over the place in single room occupancy and in hotels. So we're stuck. There's another one not in your district that's in the same situation, which apparently has a slightly less legal challenge.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Borough President. I see no further questions for you and appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Brees from Assemblymember Gottfried's office.
Thank you very much. Yesterday, Assemblymember Gottfried appeared on Citywide Live TV with the mayor for the third time to promote vaccine mandates regarding COVID-19. Also, within the last month, 2 of his bills have been signed into law. One that would allow tenants to pursue actions against landlords in local small claims courts. In particular, that regards absentee landlords. Up until now, and this mostly applies to tenants outside New York City, tenants have been obliged to serve landlords where the landlord lived. Landlord could live out of state or very far away, and that became quite difficult, particularly for smaller disputes. It's important that tenants can just have access to small claims court, and that's now the law. The second bill was his bill to decriminalize the possession of syringes or make them legal completely, which he's been pursuing for 15 years as a matter of public health to help curb infectious diseases. I think I'll stop there. I put my information for the office for Assemblymember Gottfried in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Brees. Are there any questions for Assemblymember Gottfried's office and for Brees from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, Brees, thank you very much. All right, next up, we have Adam from Councilmember Kalos's office.
Hey folks, doing? I'm just sort of filling in at the last moment, but here to listen and here to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Okay, appreciate it, Adam. Are there any questions for Councilmember Kalos's office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, I guess we left you off the hook tonight. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, next up, we have Bobby from the Parks Department. Is Bobby here tonight? Yep. Bobby, I think you're still muted. All right, so we'll move on while Bobby's figuring that out. We also have Ali from.
Sorry,
Bobby,
can you,
go ahead, Bobby.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
I'm sorry about that. So the only thing I wanted to say tonight, and then I'll take any questions if anyone has them, is we're starting our Junior Knicks basketball clinic, which is going to run into the Junior Knicks Basketball League. So that's going to be for ages 7 to 14 for the clinics. Tuesday nights from 6 to 7:30, we're going to do ages 11 to 14. And Saturdays from 11:30 to 1, we're going to do ages 7 to 10. And then come January, we're starting on Junior Knicks League. That's the only announcement I wanted to make today. I'll put my email in the chat if anyone has any questions about that. and any questions, I can answer them.
Perfect. Thank you, Bobby. Are there any questions for Bobby from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Bobby. I look forward to seeing you at the rec center.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next up, we have Sam Vasquez from Senator Hoylman's office.
Hi, folks. I just have a few updates. Recently, Governor Hochul signed our bill to ban ghost guns. Ghost guns have played a large role in the increase in gun violence in the last couple of years, with an increase of almost 500% of seizures, ghost gun seizures in the state in the last year. So we're optimistic that this will help mitigate the increase in gun violence. We also, as we heard about the choppers earlier, Senator Hoylman has introduced a bill that would help get rid of the chopper noise that we've been experiencing in the three-prong approach. One of them, first of all, I would ban non-essential helicopter use in the Hudson River Park. It would prohibit city-owned helipads it would prohibit concession agreements with tourist chopper companies throughout city-owned sites, such as the helipad in Lower Manhattan. And it would create a new ability for folks to sue chopper companies based on a nuisance complaint, with some specific cases, which would allow folks an avenue to address their concerns with the chopper companies that they don't currently have. And lastly, we have a survey regarding the children's vaccine distribution. If you're in a district and you have a child going to school and you've had any issues with your experience getting the vaccine, I will put in the chat the link to the surveys. We'd like to hear from you so we can be helpful. And that's all from us. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Sam. Are there any questions for Senator Hoylman's office from the board members or from the public? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Sam. All right, next up, we have Ali from the Department of Sanitation.
Hi, thanks so much. My name is Ali Gumas. Can you hear me okay? I've had trouble.
Yep, sound great.
My name is Ali Gumas. I currently work on the curbside composting program and the food scrap drop-off program. So I am a good contact for compost-related questions, and that's what I'm here to talk about. I just wanted to give the update. I know it's been quite confusing if you had already signed up for the brown bin for the curbside composting program. You were told your service was going to start in November. We had to postpone, but the good news is you should start in the first week of December. Same notification that you got saying when you were supposed to start in November, you'll get again within the next week. Signups are on a rolling basis. So if you have not already signed up, it's not too late. A big caveat for Manhattan and a lot of these high-rise buildings are that if an apartment has 10 or more units, we need the approval of a building manager, property manager, superintendent, or board member. And again, this is all to receive curbside composting, which is those free brown bins that the Department of Sanitation is still giving out. And it's weekly collection of your food scraps and any yard waste you might have. I'd be jealous of you if you have yard waste in Manhattan. I'm going to send some relevant links. The online sign up form takes roughly 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how fast you talk. And I'm happy to take any questions. I know it was confusing for the last month, a lot of our messaging. We've had to go back and change things, but we're on a good path now. And hopefully CB6 will be getting service in December, and I'll be adding more and more buildings every month after that.
All right, so we actually do have a question for you, Ali.
Awesome.
So Jeannie, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Hello, Allie. I love this program. I live in Stuyvesant Town, and when the composting program went away, it was a very sad time for me. So it's good to hear that it's coming back, and I hope Stuyvesant Town brings it back. My question though is commercial buildings, high-rise commercial buildings where it's mostly office space. do they participate in the program? I work in Midtown and we don't use it in our building on 50th and Madison. And I'm wondering if is it common, uncommon, or are they embracing the program, or can they not participate?
Yeah, the Department of Sanitation only collects from residential buildings, agencies and institutions like nonprofits, some churches, synagogues, other faith-based institutions. So we don't service commercial buildings. All businesses and commercial buildings should be paying a private carter to pick up their waste, but there is a list of private carters who do compost as well. So I can check out our website and send along a link if you want to pass it along to any building managers and commercial establishments. But this specific brown band program is just for residents and nonprofits.
All right, terrific. Thank you for that information.
Sure.
Thank you, Jeannie. We have another question from Stephen. Stephen, go ahead.
Hi, I understand that the composting was postponed, but there was also some possibly miscommunication that in some neighborhoods in Manhattan require an entire block or several buildings within a neighborhood to qualify for composting. Can you tell the accuracy or the qualifications for a building, even with building manager, board members, so on and so forth, like what's required for a building to receive composting service?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for asking. At the start of the pandemic, we did lose all of our funding for this program. So we had to pause everything. And since the pandemic, and we've had to roll out on the sign-up based model. So we are rolling out by community board district, certainly not by block. We are rolling out to districts that have the highest demand, in a combination of highest demand by the number of units and the number of individual buildings signed up, right? It's impossible to compare low-rise districts like a lot of Brooklyn and Queens that have a lot of single-family homes with a neighborhood like yours with lots and lots of high-rise buildings, and Stuyvesant Town with 11,000 apartments. So it's a combination of wherever the highest demand is, that's where we're going to roll out first. So on a monthly basis, we're going to continue to add new community board districts. So starting in December, we're actually bringing a few on. We're going to bring on Manhattan 6, we're going to bring on Manhattan 7, Brooklyn 7, Brooklyn CB 6 is already receiving service, Brooklyn CB 1, 2, and Bronx 8. Like those are all going to start, and this information is all online. So I'll be sure to send the link if you want to reference those numbers later. But so we require a certain amount of demand in a neighborhood, but there's no magic number to aspire to. There is no basis, there's no requirement based on block or neighborhood within a community board district. Sanitation approaches things entirely on the community board district level. So that should answer that. One of the links that I'm going to send has data, how the different community boards compare to one another. As you can imagine, Manhattan CB6 has a really high number of residential units that would be served that have signed up already, but a far fewer number of buildings themselves, just because of that density that I mentioned. That's going to be, both of those graphs are important for seeing how the community boards line up against one another. Did that answer your question? I know you also asked about high-rise buildings. So if you are in a single family home or a small apartment building with up to 9 units, you do not need to be a property manager or a superintendent. Then we just assume the tenants are managing their own waste and they'd be capable of making this decision on behalf of the building. When it gets to a 10 plus building, we want to be sure that we're going through the proper channels, we're not stepping on any toes, and that the building can go through the proper decision-making channels to say how many bins they need, where they should be going, make sure everybody has the chance to understand the program before they start going. So let me know if that didn't answer it entirely. I think there's a few questions within that.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have another question. Sandy, go ahead.
And this is actually probably a follow-up because our building did sign up, but we were told that we would not be getting composting because there's not enough demand in our neighborhood. Is that not the case? We will receive composting starting in December?
Yeah, not anymore. So as we're adding community board districts on a monthly basis, we're also sending out those notifications on a monthly basis. So you may have received that early on, maybe in August or September. You might have even received it when we stepped back. Yeah, actually, when we stepped back and said, I don't know if all of our emails lined up directly with the messaging was, I think there was a mess with the communication in terms of alerting people that they're not going to start. I think the wrong email went out. All that is to say, it was very confusing and I'm very sorry. We're on the right path now. So yes, if you've already signed up, you'll be getting a notification confirming that you're starting in the next week. it will say the correct thing this time. It will have your address in it. We'll be super on top of it now.
Great, thank you, fantastic. We're looking forward to it.
Sorry about the miscommunications.
All right. You're very popular tonight, Ali. We have another
Yeah.
question from Jim, and we'll end it with that. And if there are any further questions, please contact Ali. But we'll end it with Jim. Jim, go ahead.
Hi, Ms. Dumas. Has there been any consideration of doing this as a mandatory requirement for certain size buildings? For example, over 150 units?
Oh, I mean, that's my dream, but it's certainly not, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, absolutely. People are considering all levels of mandatory, what mandatory could look like for
and schools and hospitals and other public institutions.
So
yeah, all right. I hope they do.
All Manhattan public schools should have curbside composting right
Because
now.
I understood that when they stopped it originally, it was because the trucks were coming back half empty.
Yeah,
Is that
and
right?
that's part of why we're doing the sign-up based model, because we want to get where the demand is. So we want to prove that there is demand for this program. We can show the number of signups, but we can also show the tonnage on the trucks.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and that's what we have for you tonight, Ali.
Thank you so much.
We'll be continuing to talk about this program, which is really wonderful. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you to Anne for also mentioning the food scrap drop-off in the comments. There's one more in your neighborhood in St. Barton's, but I'll add that as well. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Joanna, has the assembly member joined us, or do you want to just deliver some remarks so that we can proceed with the agenda? All right, hearing none.
I had a couple of questions for Keith Powers. I didn't hear.
Oh, he was up in the beginning, and
I was here. I missed him. Can I ask a question?
I don't know where Pat is, but would you be able to continue the conversation offline?
I'll be super quick, but one of them might be relevant for other people. I know it's a question I raised with you already. So one of them was about restaurant sheds and kind of what the rules are if a restaurant either closes or moves, and any elected official, I haven't been able to find out, which could be me, kind of who bears responsibilities, because we don't want them. Well, it's a complicated question, but I'm just trying to find out kind of what the rules are about it. So any elected who could get back to me about that, that would be great. The other thing is I just became aware that the Grand Central Library is slated to close at the end of 2022. I think the way that it kind of lasted this long was thanks to some funding that we got from Dan Garodnick. So I was kind of hoping that Keith Powers might be able to, take that on. And, I wish I knew earlier, because we might have had a little bit more, opportunity through participatory budgeting and such like that. But so those were two issues that I kind of wanted to get out to the community. And again, anybody who can help on the, restaurants, that I'd love to hear about it.
Hey, Pat, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here. I can definitely connect with Ann offline if you. I can send you my email and a direct message, and you can send me any questions you have about sidewalk sheds, and I can, reach out and try to get you the answer for that. And as far as the funding question goes for the Grand Central Library, I can, speak with our budget director and get back to you as well.
Terrific. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Pat.
Absolutely.
Marty, do you have a question, or?
Can we have a quick hello to our new council member elect Menon?
So Marty, you're jumping ahead because.
Sorry about that.
So we'll now move to the public session. We'll start with the council member elect for District 5, Julie Menon, who will be joining us tonight. Julie.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Hello, CB6. I can't tell you how excited I am to work with all of you. I have worked with CB6. I was thinking about it as I logged onto the Zoom for over 20 years. For those of you, I've worked with so many of you, I'm not going to name everyone that I've worked with here on this Zoom, but the vast majority of you. But for those of you that are not familiar with me, I'm the newly elected council member, obviously for District 5, taking over for Council Member Kalos in January. I chaired Community Board 1 in Lower Manhattan after 9/11 for 7 years. So at that time, I was one of the longest serving Manhattan Community Board chairs. I love community boards. I believe in community boards. I am so excited to work with all of you. My phone, my email is always open. I know we're putting it in the chat. So if you need to reach me, please reach out. And the other thing I would say for any of you that I've not worked with before, I've also served as Commissioner of Consumer Affairs. I served as where we launched a paid sick leave law and so many other important consumer protection and worker protection issues. I also served as Commissioner of Media and Entertainment for the city. And lastly, I served as a city census director and executive assistant corporation counsel at the law department. So I mention that only to say I'm very familiar with city government. I've served as a commissioner for a very long time. And I mention that because I really believe I can be a phenomenal advocate to all of you as we push forward with this recovery after COVID. I'm so excited to be serving at this particular time. I think we have huge challenges ahead, and I look forward with your help to tackling them. And then just a quick couple updates. I did, as the Borough President mentioned, I also testified on the Redistricting Commission. I used to actually be a redistricting commissioner many years ago, so very familiar with this process. It's very important that we make sure that on the east side of Manhattan that we have an intact congressional representation. So that's what I testified to, and certainly happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
All right, thank you so much again for joining us, Councilmember-elect, and we look forward to working with you in a new capacity with all of the capacities that we've worked with you in the past, so we do appreciate it. And it sounds like we'll be dumping a lot on your plate.
I look forward to it. Dump away.
Day one. Marty, do you have a comment or a question? Or is your hand still up from before?
It's up. It's up from before, but I first met the council member some 20 years ago when I went to visit her office, and Noah Pfefferblit was working for her. He had been the borough president's liaison prior to that, and he got me on the community board way back when.
Wow, small world, full circle. All right. I see no further questions. So thank you so much, Councilmember-elect. And we look forward to you joining the elected section in January. So thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you, everyone. Great to see you.
Jesus, do we have any other speakers in the public session?
We have another registrant, but I don't see him online today. Tommy Loeb, are you here? All right. If you're in the audience section, can you raise your hand? I don't see anyone. All right, so I guess they decided not to tonight.
Okay, so we'll move on to the adoption of the previous meeting's full board minutes. The minutes from the October 13th full board meeting were distributed to board members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes from that meeting. Board members, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand through Zoom.
Mr. Chair, the roll call vote for the election of officers should be included in the October minutes, and I did not see them there.
Jesus?
That has not been a practice of this board, at least for the years that I've been here, and possibly before that. If the board wishes to change that, that's up to the board, though.
That isn't a matter of board policy, it's a matter of the charter. Public votes are mandatory at the board, and their inclusion in the minutes is mandated by the charter. And if we have not observed that in the past, that's a fault of ours. It should be corrected, and it certainly should be corrected at this time.
All right, thank you, Lou. That's noted. All right, seeing no further objections, the minutes from October 13th full board meeting will be adopted. They will soon be available on the CB6 website.
With the amendment that the election of officers voting should be included in the minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll add that in.
All right, so we'll now go with the chair's report. I don't have too much, but I do want to give a quick reminder to everyone on the board about attendance. The borough president's office does monitor members' attendance. So I just want to please make sure that you are attending committee meetings as well as full board meetings. We understand that things come up, and if they do, please inform the board office and your committee chairs, because quorum is required to proceed with the meeting. So we don't want to interfere with board business. It is a commitment to be on this board, and our bylaws do stipulate procedures for poor attendance. So please make sure to show up and be communicative so that we can avoid any awkward situations. On a positive note, I do want to congratulate one of our board members. And if there was anyone else who did this, please let us know. But Anju ran the New York City Marathon this past weekend. And I'm sure that our full board meetings were excellent preparation for being exhausted for at least 3.4 hours every month. So congratulations, Anju, and anyone else who I'm unaware of who ran the New York City Marathon this past Sunday.
Yay!
Thank you so much. That's so sweet.
And then finally, I do want to recognize our Health and Human Services Committee Chair, Dr. Elvi Barroso, who was just inducted as a new fellow of the New York Academy of Medicine. So this is really wonderful news as well, and congratulations, and we're very lucky to have you on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you much. And that's all I have for the committee. Jesus, go ahead.
Right. For my report today, I'd like to actually do a quick reminder of some resources that we have available for the board. I'm going to share my screen. I want to remind folks, members especially, but those folks watching at home as well, from the public, that on our website, cb6.org, cbsix.org, we do have a resolutions database. If you go to the website, this is our main page, you click that, you're going to see this little open tracker button, you click that, and then it'll open the database and tracker. Can everybody see that? Mm-hmm. Then some things that you'll find on there, for a couple months now, we've been putting all draft resolutions on the database. And so, for example, to the board members, when the digital packet of the resolutions is delayed, because maybe we've got a resolution or two that's not yet in, we don't have to delay, or you don't have to delay reading the resolutions because they're all here in draft form. We make it very, very clear that they are in draft form, but they are there for people to see as soon as we get them into the office. Additionally, there was recently a meeting that I was attending of this board, a land use committee meeting, where a particular topic came up, the heliport. And in the deliberations of the committee, some references to past resolutions were made. And I wanted to remind everyone that, for example, in the middle of a committee, if you think, oh, there was this resolution that the board passed, I just can't remember when or about what. If you know the topic, what you can do is you can go to our resolution database, click on filter, click add condition, and all of our resolutions, as you see here, are grouped whenever applicable by topic. So let's say I was in that meeting and I wanted to, where topic has any of, and then we'll type in heliport, boom. All the resolutions that we've got on the database that the board has passed on the heliport, for example, come right up. And so it would have been very handy for members to use at that meeting. I imagine it'll come up in subsequent meetings so we can use yet again. But I wanted just to remind folks that we've got that available to all of you. Additionally, now and then do one more thing, and then I'll be done. It is back to the website. If we go to any of the committee pages, for example, let's see, public safety. At the very bottom of all the committee pages, you're going to see a little minutes button. Recently, there were some committee movements where there was a committee that was being absorbed into another one, and the members of that committee were reassigned to other committees. And one of the members, I won't call him out, but we didn't forget about your email. We're catching up on some of these emails. Wanted to, very wisely, I think, see past minutes of that particular committee that he was just appointed to, so that to catch himself up, which is a good practice, certainly. We haven't had a chance to get to the email, but right here, I thought it would be a good chance to show. If you click this button, View Meeting Minutes, it takes you to the CB6 minutes database. All of the minutes for all the committees for the past couple of years are here. In fact, there's an audit that's currently being conducted by the Comptroller's office, and one of the things it looks at is minutes. And for the particular audit period, CB6 is one of the few community boards that actually has all their minutes on their website like they're supposed to. So yay for us. But for example, let's say this person wanted to find the minutes that he was looking for. So click Filter, Add Condition, where committee is exactly, and then we can just type in Public Safety. Boom. The committee has not been around for a very long time in its current incarnation, so there aren't that many minutes up here, but this person could then see all of the most recent minutes for the particular committee, which he is now a member of. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys saw that. I know you've seen it before, but sometimes memory fades, and we do have some folks who are newer. So I wanted to make this plug again for this really cool resource that we have there for the members, certainly, but also since it's on our website for members of the public too. Thank you. That's all I really have to say on that, unless there are questions.
Thank you, Jesus. And I just first want to begin by thanking you and the rest of the board staff for digitizing all of this information. I'm sure some of you caught that there were some resolutions from 1996 when I was in kindergarten that were on this database. So thank you so much for digitizing everything. That's very impressive, and we're very grateful for that. I do see a question from Claire.
Yeah, I was just piggybacking on what you just said, Kyle. That's like amazing that it goes so far back. And my question was, in terms of the resos, how far back does it go, or what was like the first reso that you all archived into this? The earliest one.
The resos go, that's a very good question. The resos go back about 2 or 3 years. However, we have digitized resos through the early 80s. There's some technical stuff that I won't bore the board with, but we're looking to put the rest of all those resos up, but it'll have to be in the new year for reasons that I won't go into right now. But yes, they are digitized and they will eventually make their way up here. But whenever we have found older resos that have been particularly useful to committees, we've gone ahead and put them up there. That's why we have some resos that are already up there from the 80s. So tubular, I guess, as they said back then.
Awesome.
Jim Collins.
Hi, Jesus. Are they word searchable in the older documents?
They are word searchable for the resolutions and the minutes. If you type in, let's say we don't have a tag for, I don't know, you're involved with the Boy Scouts. We don't have a tag for that because we don't get many resolutions on that. But if we happen to one day, and you type in the words Boy Scouts, every time where that appears, it will search not only our entries, but it will also search the PDFs of the resolutions that are attached. So yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember when I interviewed for this job, this was something that the interview committee said, we really want this, and now we've got it. So let's make good use of it.
Promises made, promises kept.
I'll leave that one alone.
All right, thank you so much, Jesus.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to our board treasurer, Brian Van Nieuwenhoven, who will now give us his report.
All right, I'll make this quick. Our report from OMB November 1st shows our personal services budget is $237,033 for the year. We have $170,119 left, with $66,913 spent or obligated. The current budget for other than personal services, excluding rent, is $156,130. This figure contains $113,875 of our routine street fair money. Our remaining OTPS budget is $42,255, with a balance of $40,774, with $1,481 spent or obligated. Finally, we have a rent budget of $163,642, and it has already been used to pay our rent obligations for the remainder of this fiscal year. Does anyone have any questions?
Seeing no questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. All right, we've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. And so in order to conduct an efficient meeting, I'm going to repeat the ground rules that we discussed before. So first, no one may speak until granted the floor by the chair. 2, board members, if you have a question or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom first. The chat function should not be used for board business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having, or to state in writing information, such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Once a board member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you. And to the members of the public, please note that during this session of the meeting, we only take questions from members of the board. And last but not least, we are required by New York State law to have a transcript of this meeting. So please keep all questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. As a reminder, we are again using a digital ballot tonight. The CB6 staff will post a link to the ballot in the chat. Please open this ballot, select your name from the list of board members, and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented. Do not hit submit until later in the evening after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, once you have indicated all of your votes on your ballot, only then should you submit the ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call, so please stick around for that. If any part of our voting procedure is unclear or you're facing some sort of issue, please raise your hand through Zoom and we will address your question. All right, so let's get to it.
Kyle, just interject. I hear that Assemblymember Epstein is here.
Assemblymember Epstein, please go ahead. Assemblymember Epstein, are you there?
I saw something from Joanna saying that the assembly member is here, but
I think.
All right, I think we can proceed with the agenda.
Reference that that someone from his office was in attendance.
All right. All right, so we are at the committee reports section, so we do have to move on with the agenda. So John, Youth and Education, please go ahead.
Thank you, Kyle. And tonight I'll have a very brief report, but first of all, we want to bring forth a resolution supporting the reassignment of the school crossing guard to the intersection of 32nd and 3rd Avenue for PS 116. PS 116 is a interesting school for many reasons, including the wonderful faculty and staff and parents, leaders who have come out of that school. But also it's right on the borderline between Councilmember Powers' district and Councilmember Rivera's district. So it's situated in Councilmember Rivera's district, but draws many of its people from Councilmember Powers' district. And the resolution is fairly straightforward. There was a school crossing guard there. It is a highly, it's a dangerous intersection. In fact, we drew this resolution up in collaboration with the Parents Association, as well as with the assistant principal of the school, who reviewed the resolution. And basically we're asking strongly that the school crossing guard be replaced there. You know, because of the many parents and guardians and kids that are crossing there, not to mention other people at that time of the morning and afternoon. And we just want to get our voice in here and try to help a little bit. They haven't been technically turned down. What we're trying to do is just turn up the heat a little bit on the DOE and the 17th precinct to get the crossing guard reassigned as they were before. I'll stop there. The resolution is fairly straightforward. It's part of my own strategy as head of the Education Committee, Youth and Education Committee, to deal with very practical things that directly affect our schools. And this is certainly one of them.
Yep. John, so we have several questions. So we'll go in order. Marty, go ahead.
Hey, Marty.
Hi, I have a couple of questions. There was a tool on the city that we were given a link to that showed the accidents on any corner, and you know, both car accidents and with pedestrians and deaths. Do you know how many people or what has happened on that corner, or is it just anecdotally?
I don't know. That's a very good question. What I do know is that parents from the school that I've talked to over the years have been, you know, very concerned. In fact, the NYPD actually put a turn signal in there to try to control the intersection. But you know, and it's certainly if you talk to parents from PS 116, it's of great concern to them.
Having a number of what the actual problem is would make the resolution so much stronger. Secondly,
I would agree with that.
You know, secondly, why not crossing guards by all our schools? Why did we focus just on?
That is a very good question. Hiring crossing guards is difficult because they work for a few hours in the morning and a few hours in the afternoon. And especially in this economy, it's difficult to get people to do that. And I've tried at the school where my kids were attending as elementary school students to get a crossing guard, and you know, fought and failed. And we asked for a speed bump, and we got what I call a speed dimple, which basically slows cars down a little bit. But we couldn't even get a stop sign in at rush hour. So these things are it's historically difficult to get them through. And I've been involved in several schools where we've tried to do this. Yes. Kyle, I'll let you give the floor.
Yep. Next up, we'll go to Lou.
Just a technical change. Instead of reassigned in the language, it should be assigned, or a school crossing guard should be posted at that location. It's a little clearer that way.
Fair enough. We chose that. That would be a friendly. I would recognize that as a friendly amendment. On the other hand, we did choose the language because there did used to be a school crossing guard there, and so we wanted to emphasize that this was not something brand new that people dreamt up.
No, but
I would take that as a friendly amendment.
Thank you. That was the intention.
Just a reminder, there's no such thing as a friendly amendment. So
okay. I mean,
when we vote on it, we do have to.
I mean, I would take it as an amendment and take it in the spirit in which it is offered. I guess it's just since I've been on in the board for just five years now as we've worked together. I just take this as a collaborative thing. Thank you.
I'm just saying in terms of language for the resolution.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. Sorry, Kyle.
Next up, Sandra. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just wanted to understand why this particular school in this particular location had the crossing guard suspended, but not others.
That I don't know. I'm just assuming that it's been difficult. I don't have the statistics on how many were put back in. I can get them readily, but I do know that this intersection is of concern to parents and guardians at the school, and that's why we're doing it. But that's
so John, my concern is more that we have other unguarded intersections around some of our schools, and I know that I've seen some crossing guards since the pandemic started. So maybe it would be helpful if the committee could just somehow confirm that there is an adequate complement of crossing guards across all the schools in our district, so that we can advocate if it need be for others as well.
and I as I've already said, I would more than agree with that, as I feel that there aren't, and I've tried in the past to get them put in place. But we will. That's very good. I'll survey the the principals and PAs and in our schools and see if any of them are particularly concerned about this. But it's a fair question, and it's something that it's a question that just never goes away. I mean,
very good. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Next up, Larry.
This is a fine resolution. I just had a question about whether you have any information about personnel problems with respect to this particular crossing. And in light of the pandemic, it's been hard to hire people. And if somebody has decided not to come back, that may be the issue here. Do you have any specific information?
I do not have any specific information. I do know that the school is, very eager to get it, that they've gone to the 17th precinct and they're waiting to hear back from them, but I don't have a specific person information in that regard, though. But I do know it was important enough to the assistant principal of the school to say, please give us a boost here. Thank you.
All right, next up, Anne.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit confused here because I was just in that neighborhood and it is a mess between the construction and the the restaurant shed. So I don't doubt the need, but I thought this school was on 33rd Street, not 32nd.
That's the formal address of the school, but many people this is how many people access the school in the mornings. But that's a good point. In fact, I believe the resolution itself states the address of the school as 33rd Street.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. Oh yeah, you're right. It says
Right, yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is I wonder if the name, again, I don't know, in the same spirit as Lou's, like supporting seems weaker than what we are asking for. Like, should the title of it be, urging, requesting, something like that? I don't know. Just saying.
I had a much stronger wording in this, but was advised to calm it down. So
All right. Enough said.
I actually had demands. I was told, well, that's really not how we should be talking to people.
Unfortunately, we don't have that power.
And I took that as a friendly amendment as well. Thank you.
We have Rich next.
Yes, just in response to Marty, I checked Crash Mapper, which is the data source he was talking about. And in the last 3 years, there have been 15 traffic-related injuries at the intersections of 31st, 32nd, and 33rd together.
Yeah, the cars, Rich, first of all, thank you. We weren't just pulling this out of our proverbial, but that certainly helps. And the cars just zoom up there. I mean, if you have ever watched the cars going by there, it's scary. Thank you very much, Rich, for doing that.
All right, next up we have Jim.
I just wanted to call the question. We see Assembly Member Epstein is waiting for us as well.
Second.
All right, seconded. All right,
As
everybody,
amended
please,
or whatever.
please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for this resolution. This is 1A. And please do not hit submit.
And in order to speed things up, I will just do a very brief report. We are working on several other things that need to percolate a bit before we bring them to the attention of the entire board. But one thing that I have been speaking of throughout the year has been, getting numbers on the attendance, students who actually showed up on the first day of class. And according to the Department of Education, roughly 938,000 students are currently enrolled in our public schools, down from about 955 last year. But that was already a significant decline from pre-pandemic levels, so that now there is a 6.4% or about 64,000 fewer students compared to the 2019-2020 school years. And charter enrollment has increased during this time, and kindergarten enrollment is actually down 9%. I am of a mind, as you all know, and always have been, not to overreact until we see more data. So I really want to see class by class data, grade by grade data before we draw any conclusions from this. The one part of good news is that, well, the only good news here is that we did, PS6, Community Board 6 proudly sponsored a resolution last year asking that the schools who are affected by this not have to send back the money. And remember, we had a discussion of that schools are funded based on the number of students, and it was going to affect many of our schools. And typically the DOE takes it back. And many of our schools would have been affected very poorly, very significantly by that. So we passed a resolution here, and the city subsequently, we'll be happy to take credit for it, but the city subsequently decided not to take money back from schools affected by reduction in attendance due to, in any way at all, the pandemic, and I believe that is going to continue this year. Then I'll just end my report there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Are there any further questions for the Youth and Education Committee? All right, seeing none. We'll pause very quickly in our committee business to welcome Assemblymember Epstein.
Thank you for waiting, Harvey.
No problem. Thanks for letting me jump in. I'm sorry I'm really late. I've been running around from meetings and events, so I really do appreciate it. I'm actually outside. I just want to do two quick things I want people to focus on. One is, the open meeting law changes we made. Those only are in effect till January 15th. So we could really use some real deep thinking. I know we had a committee meeting the other day about it, but really if we're going to extend them and figure out what it looks like, we're going to have a long conversation about it. We had a hearing in mid-October, and there's a real push to require in-person meetings because of people for attendance and with hybrid options in those meetings. And there was a space issue. So I really encourage the board to be thinking about this, what the future of hybrid versus in-person meetings is going to be. The second thing, I think it's great that you're talking about school attendance. Mayoral control expires next year, and we need to know what we want to have as our future. We had a hearing, I think now a week and a half ago, on mayoral control and what the future will look like. I think we're open to anything, and so it may be renewing what we have. It may be totally changing the system. So I would encourage people to really dig into these issues that they care about and just give your state representatives good feedback so we can really have an informed conversation. Obviously the hybrid meeting issue, January 15th, is not far away. So the sooner the better we get information. Mayoral control doesn't expire till June. So we have a little more time. My expectation is both will be done by early next year. The mayoral control issue might even get done in the context of the budget. So I just wanted to thank everyone for letting me take a couple minutes out of your time. And I'm happy to take a question, Kyle, if you have a minute. If not, I'm happy just to move on.
John, do you have a quick question?
Just on the mayoral control. When do you have a sense, Harvey, Assembly Member, of when that will be taken up? Because I would like to.
My guess is the latest that'll happen in the context of budget. It might happen pre-budget. So my guess is it'll be February, March is when it'll get decided.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you so much, Assembly Member. All right, moving on with committee business. We'll now move on to land use and waterfront. Sandy, go ahead.
Very short report. We had a presentation on the ESCR, an update. They'll be coming back next month with the EDC and the DOT. We asked both of them to come and give us some more information on what's happening. We had a presentation, very unsuccessful presentation from the heliport. We gained a little bit of time to make some comments on their proposals. I think the committee was very disappointed that they're spending $2.2 million, but very little of that money is going towards making the heliport more approachable or more friendly to our neighborhood. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
Sandy.
you.
Are there any questions for Sandy in land use and waterfront? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. Next, move on to Elvi with Health and Human Services.
Good evening, everyone. The Health and Human Services Committee started to discuss the healthcare bill, and we plan to invite a speaker for our next meeting in December to give us an update on the status of this bill and how CB6 can support this bill. We also started a discussion on how we can bring awareness in our community about the dangerous adverse effects of the THC, Delta-8 cannabis, which can be deceptively present in some of our food products like gummies, candies, and chocolates. So we are looking into some guidance from the Department of Health on how to address this topic, and we will continue to discuss this topic in our next meeting. That's all for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Elvi. Are there any questions for the Health and Human Services Committee? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Elvi.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Business Affairs and Licensing. Claire, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Brian?
Oh, hello. Motion to bundle minus 4H.
Yes. So I think we should bundle.
Any objections to the bundling or a second? Is the bundling second? All right, who was that?
Ronnie.
Ronnie. All right, thank you, Ronnie.
Just to clarify, 4H is not in the bundle.
Claire, can you clarify?
I was including that in the bundle, but if we want to take that out, that's okay.
I would like to take that out, 4H.
Okay.
Yeah, I motioned to take that out, but to include
No
all the
worries. That's fine. So H is excluded from the bundle. Anne?
I just want to say what a great sign it is of the city's rejuvenation that we have, 9 new requests for or renewals or new licenses. And I think we should take a moment and appreciate that.
Yes, I agree and seconded on that. It's a really great thing. A lot of these restaurants have been in operation and they're adding licenses, but yeah, it's wonderful to have a packed agenda on this committee. I'll just give you all a little background on the 2 that we took out.
So let's take a vote on the ones that were bundled first.
Sure.
All right. So is there any questions? So that was seconded to bundle. Let's go to our digital ballot. And please mark your vote for resolution A through G and I. Do not mark your vote for H. I think only one was pulled out, correct? It was just H.
I think H and I.
H was pulled out.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear anyone say
I heard only H pulled out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I, as far as we heard, is in the bundle.
That's fine with me. I guess.
Okay, so do you want to explain H then?
Yes. So H is the Freehand Hotel, which is on Lexington Avenue. I'm sure folks who have been on our board for a while are familiar with this establishment. The last time they came up to business affairs and licensing, I was not a member, but I do remember as a full board member, and we rejected their application as well because there were similar stipulations as you can find in our resolution here that we asked them to adhere to based on complaints from neighbors and the community, and they were not willing to agree to those stipulations. So 2 years ago, it was a negative resolution, and we had recently, over the summer, received more complaints from neighbors of the Freehand, just about the noise level coming from the roof, a line out the door with, people waiting, making it seem more like a club situation than a bar. And then when a representative came to us this past month, they were just not willing to work with us or agree to close the rooftop earlier. So we modeled this resolution similarly to the last one. But if anyone has any questions, I can answer them. Lou?
I take it that the list of limited liability corporations are partners in the establishment that's seeking the license?
Yeah, so that was unclear to us at the time. The representative from the that was there to speak on this topic was seemed to think that it was just for the Freehand Hotel, but the last time they came, it was for a number of establishments in the building. So there was some unclarity there, but we were talking to him about the Freehand Hotel bar, which is on the roof specifically.
Just wondering if some clarity in the drafting of the language might be helpful so that it's clear as to which of the establishment we're talking about, and that the others are subordinate or just partners in management or whatever, because this doesn't lend itself to easy understanding.
So
Okay.
just to clarify, the committee did identify the broken shaker in one of the whereases as their source of the issue, if that is helpful to you. It says the history of problems at the broken shaker.
Is that regarded as sufficiently clear that we're understanding to the understanding that the resolution applies only to the principal applicant, the Freehand New York at the 23 Lexington Avenue?
The resolution is in response to an application, and presumably these are the names on the application.
Correct, Richard.
A lot of, yeah, does that clarify, Lou? Brian?
Okay, just wanted to say a couple of things about this in regards to my thinking about all of this, because this is a much more complex situation than we normally encounter in an application for renewal. First of all, it's very disappointing that the folks from that business haven't presented poorly with us on multiple occasions. There is some level of presence there, but they are just not up to the same level as a lot of our other applicants. This is not our responsibility at all to get them to show up, but if there's anything we can do to communicate that we expect more out of them, that would be great, but otherwise they need to step it up a little bit. A second thing here is that I applaud the committee for including the complaints in the process of scrutinizing this application. It does seem confusing to me, and that it's not really seen whether it's clear that it separates all the venues in the building from the one venue where a lot of complaints seem to have been focused from. My personal independent research on this topic indicates that I've never seen any real disturbances being caused by the broken shaker. There is no criminal history at the location. Other residents that I'm familiar with don't report any noises or anything that they can hear coming out of that venue. This is a really tricky situation. Given that SLA has already approved their liquor license under the same exact situation of us being disapproving of their situation without the additional agreements or stipulations, it's kind of a writing on the wall that they're probably going to get their renewal. But I'm just going to say that the neighborhood probably will be worse off if we have a hotel here that has a total shutdown of their liquor license because of the way that their structure is gone. And either way, after really looking into this, I don't really see a particular reason to deny them a license at the spot or on the roof. One thing that might help is if there was more detail about the specific complaints that were lodged. And I know that that's kind of hard to fit in a reso, but as a full board member, just kind of seeing this as a glance and not really seeing anything notable from the venue, my inclination is to not vote in favor of this particular resolution.
All right, thank you, Brian. Next up, we have Sandra.
Yeah, so actually, I don't have anything major and substantive. It was more just a formatting. We don't actually, I'm looking at the various resolutions from the committee, but we're not actually calling out the venue, location, or the businesses or the LLCs in the actual reso body in the whereas statements. It's just in that little header, which I think would be clearer and more specific for us to do so in the future.
Thank you, Sandra. All right, next up we have Jim.
Insofar as the multiple LLCs, it's probably the owner of the building, and then he licenses it out to an operator. I'm not sure, but that's what I would presume from what I see. And with that, I'm inclined to call the question. I don't think it makes any difference, which legal entity we address this to.
Thank you.
Second.
Jim. Who was that seconded by?
We have questions. Lou.
All right, let me, there are two other questions, so let me get through that, and that will be the last. And just as a reminder to members of the public, only board members can ask questions during this portion of the meeting. So Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, I must express my disappointment that the general manager was in committee and said he would show up at this full board meeting to be on call for any questions that were needed. I do not see him on this call. Is that correct?
I don't see him either.
Okay, and I just think this adds to the ongoing maybe distrust of some of the things that are coming out of their history. So again, just wanted to express my disappointment.
Thank you, Kevin, for bringing that up. They also mentioned that they would email us tomorrow right away. He would get off the call and, figure out what their issues were and be in contact with us. And we haven't heard from them at all. So thank you.
And I will just say as well, when I was the chair of this committee and dealing with these issues, I was actually called to a member of the public's house very late at night to listen to the disturbance, where I could actually hear the lyrics to the music playing in the bar in their actual house. So this was a serious issue for many years that we seemingly had addressed at the time, but has deteriorated once again. So just to provide clarity to the history of this. All right, there was a call to question by Jim, and that was seconded by Lou. So please go to your digital ballots and mark your vote for this resolution. This is 4H. And please do not hit submit yet. And for those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. And Claire, while they do that, do you have a report for us?
Just to say that we had a member from Small Business Services join us at our last meeting, and it was a really informational presentation about ways that their group can support small businesses. And I would implore you to go to YouTube and check it out if you didn't join us last month. But other than that, that's all from me.
All right. Thank you, Claire. Jim, do you have a question?
I just wanted to compliment Claire for getting the folks at Casamono to clear out their sheds and move them onto 17th Street proper, as opposed to blocking that sidewalk. It happened almost instantaneously after this resolution was passed last month, I believe it was. So well done, Claire.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Jim. That I can't take any credit there. The board office has been really wonderful in communicating with them, and they're a good neighbor who has been around for a long time and appreciates, discourse from us, and they were really responsive. So thank you for the acknowledgement, but it is not to me.
Yeah. And Lou, do you have an additional question, or is your hand raised from before?
Yeah, I was just going to say that when the last time we had very strong feelings in opposition to the renewal of a liquor license, a former colleague, and the late Colleen Curtis went up and testified at the State Liquor Authority on the board's behalf, stating the reasons for the opposition that we enunciated in our resolution. That might be a precedent that if there's a strong feeling that we might follow this time.
Thank you for that, Lou. That's helpful. All right, moving on to the next. Eric, do you have a question for Claire?
Sure, Kyle, thanks for giving me a quick moment. I was just looking through the applications for the liquor licenses, and I noticed there was a quick conversation about and I just wanted to see if I was remembering it correctly, that there were a number of community members who came out either last month or the month prior to discuss the Lagos establishment and some disturbances and issues related to that. So just curious if anything had come up in committee regarding Lagos.
Yes, so we did already vote on that resolution, but Claire, do you want to provide some context about who showed up and just a very brief summary of what happened with that?
Yes, thank you for bringing this up. I thought that this might have been excluded from the bundle, but it's really clearly written in the reso what's going on. But we got some community complaints early on, and then upon further examination, realized that the liquor license of this establishment was improper, and the board office were very sleuthy and kind of dealing with the SLA, and also Keith Powers' office was really great in kind of like bringing everyone together to figure this out. But we ended up having them as an agenda item on our last month's agenda, expecting them to come and be able to kind of talk us through some of the issues, and no one showed up. They became ill last minute and no one was there. So we wrote a resolution because there is some kind of like ongoing legal issues. SLA is bringing this one establishment to kind of potentially cancel or revoke their non-existing liquor license. It's confusing, but I really appreciate the board office's work on this. And I'm not sure if there has been an update since our meeting, but I haven't heard of one, but stay tuned and we'll keep you all posted about that in committee.
Thanks for the update. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Claire. We're going to move on to Environment and Parks. Transportation's report has been waived since neither Jean nor Philip were able to make it tonight. So we'll move ahead to Environment and Parks with Kevin.
Thank you, Kyle. At the November 3rd committee meeting, we did discuss the state ballot proposal on environmental rights that had passed the previous evening. The passage will add the right to clean water, clean air, and a healthful environment to the New York State Constitution's Bill of Rights. New Yorkers will now have an enforceable right to all of these. This will require lawmakers to consider the impact of clean water, clean air, and the environment when making decisions. It also allows New Yorkers to sue if they believe their right to clean water, clean air, or a healthful environment are being violated. Now, as part of this development, the committee introduced a grassroots initiative. Each month, we're having at least one community organization from the district present for 4 minutes their desired improvements to their community. We started this month with the 61-year-old Murray Hill Neighborhood Association, actually more specifically, a presentation by the chair of the committee's Clean and Green Committee, Michael Ann Rowe. We already have been able to help guide the association to resolution of its priority environmental need. In a previous committee meeting, we reported that the Friends of St. Vartan Park is now an orphaned 501c3. Indeed, it has lost its IRS tax exempt status. In last week's meeting, we reported the follow-up news brought to us from Partnership for Parks that a virtual meeting was being arranged for anyone wishing to take the leadership role in the organization of a new Friends of St. Vartan or similar group. That meeting was 2 days ago. It was attended by several individuals, and a second meeting will be coming soon. Part of this group will be helping maintain and beautifying the garden that is now open to the general public. The Parks Department District Manager, Sheena Kaufman, continues to be responsive to the committee's requests, many of which were introduced by members of the community at committee meetings. Maybe this is a good time to address Ronnie White's and Jim Collins' exchange about gas-powered landscaping tools. I'll note that Sheena reported that Parks has started to make the transition to battery-operated leaf blowers. And as I hinted about earlier, it is the journalist James Fallows who wrote for The Atlantic about gas leaf blowers, quote, "Running a leaf blower for 30 minutes creates more emissions than driving an F-150 pickup truck 3,800 miles. About 1/3 of the gasoline that goes into this sort of engine is spewed out, unburned, in an aerosol mixed with oil into the exhaust," unquote. On a matter I know, Kyle, that you have been working on, Sheena reported in committee that Parks may be acquiring the East 34th Street property close to the East River. She said that Parks has been in touch with other city parties to make sure the property is sound, including the bulkhead, so that costs are not unforeseen and/or outside budget feasibility. That inspection is upcoming. Last but not least, thank you, Kyle. We have a new committee member, someone who has already taken on management of 2 committee research initiatives, one on landmarks and one on privately owned public space. We welcome Letty Simon to the Environment and Parks Committee. And we wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Jim, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a point, Kevin, that survey that you mentioned deals with respect to hydrocarbons being released from a two-stroke engine. It's not with respect to carbon monoxide or nitrogen oxide, which are typically in the instance of a truck driving, I think it was from Texas to Alaska, that would produce far more in the way of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. The greenhouse gases, this is just gasoline that's being expelled, the hydrocarbons.
Thank you for that clarification.
I don't want to.
Thank you.
I don't want to
I
get
sent you a link
on this. We're delving into a committee topic, so let's move on from this. Are there any questions for Environment and Parks? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Kevin. We'll now move on to housing and homelessness with Rich.
Yes, thank you. This will be brief. We have one resolution this month. It is a resolution in support of a city council bill that would prohibit landlords and real estate brokers from inquiring about arrest history when making rental decisions. It is supported by all three of our council members and a majority of the council. And it is also supported by the mayor and dozens of advocacy organizations in the city. So we've written a resolution that briefly lays out the case for it, but I think the resolution is clear.
Thank you, Rich. There's a question from Jim.
Rich, sure. I support the general notion of this. I do have an issue though with this as it respects co-ops, co-op apartments, which are shareholders own shares, and then they are given a leasehold interest on top of that. It doesn't make this clear, and I think that if anyone were to take it to court, the cooperative would be considered a private membership organization, and therefore this would not be applicable to co-ops. It may also apply to condos. I don't know.
I think
condos are owned.
Based on the plain language of the bill, which is very simple, I think you're probably right that co-ops might not be subject to it. Obviously, the main intent is to prevent large landlords from taking it into account, because that's where the overwhelming majority of people who experience this kind of discrimination are getting their housing from.
Can we clarify it, you think, maybe just when offline? Just
yeah,
to make
offline,
that clear.
We can look into it, but I don't think we're in a position to put anything in the resolution because the legislation's already established.
Yeah. Roger Ottman's out of jail now, so I don't want coming into a co-op.
All right, thank you, Rich. Are there any other questions on this resolution, 7A? And if there are none, is there a call to question?
Second.
Well, did anyone call the question? I did not call to question.
Call the question.
All right, Jim called the question, seconded by Lou. Everyone, please go back to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 7A. And please do not hit submit. And for those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. And while people are doing that, Rich, do you have a committee report?
Just one thing to mention, which is that we are meeting next Monday to hold a public hearing on the New Providence permanent supportive housing zoning resolution relating to their property on, I believe it's East 45th Street, and everyone is welcome.
Thank you very much, Rich. All right, moving on to budget and government affairs. Is Rick here?
Yep, here I am. I didn't hit the unmute. I'm going to start, but I'm also going to turn it over to Vice Chair Reshma Patel. The resolution that's in the packet materials is very important because it affects all of how the board can actually meet, as well as every other public body in the state of New York. The gist of it is during the pandemic, we were allowed to have meetings that included remote access through electronic means, so that people could actually participate and vote and count towards quorum and all the obligations of a meeting through an electronic connection. That ability will expire on January 15th unless something happens. And this resolution is intended to address it in two different ways. We're suggesting some things to the state through the bills that are being presented by Senator Hoylman, Assemblymember Court. They have separate separate bills that need to be coordinated. We believe Senator Hoylman's may be a little further along in the process, but there's very little time to do this. I think Harvey Epstein may be a little bit too optimistic, thinking that we can get it done easily between now and the 15th. So one of the other things that we've included in the resolution is a suggestion that the governor do another executive order that would extend, we say for a year. We don't know if that would be possible or not, but for some length of time that'll give the legislature a chance to do a permanent solution. It's that important that it needs to be addressed properly and permanently. So I will turn it over to, before I do that, let me just thank the board office for its assistance. Brendan and Jesus helped quite a bit on this resolution and the background information, the legislation and that kind of thing. I appreciate the fact that Harvey Epstein did come to the meeting on Monday, as well as representatives from Senator Hoylman's office, Assemblymember Gottlieb's office, Assemblymember Court's office, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. But we've had strong support from our elected officials who are just waiting for our input. I also want to thank Kyle for actually getting this started to a certain extent with a letter that he wrote several months ago now, when the matter first came up to our attention, and got the other community boards in Manhattan to sign on, all but one, to support an extension of the executive order. So we're all, there's a lot of activity here. We'll have to keep monitoring it until it's done, because this is that important. So if Reshma, if you'd like to take it over from there and answer any questions that people might have.
Sure. Thank you, Rick. And again, I'd like to thank everybody who has been involved in this process and helped in drafting this resolution from the committee. So if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Reshma on Resolution 8A, supporting revisions to the open meetings law? It was very well written.
Thank you.
And there we go. And
yeah, I think this is, I also think this is very well written, and it's a very complex issue. My only kind of question about it is there's not really any description of hybrid or kind of intermittent in person. Like hybrid is used as a term, but it's not really defined. And you know, I know there's been discussion about sort of intermittent in-person meetings. So I'm just wondering, again, I think it's very well written on an incredibly complex issue, but I was just wondering what the thinking was about that kind of during the deliberations, and I'm sorry I wasn't there to be part of them.
No, thank you, Anne. And, you know, we've had many discussions. We've been discussing this since we actually had a meeting in August when we first started discussing this, because we thought that at that point we weren't going to be able to have any meetings because the new interim legislation only passed in September. And one of the things, and Jesus has spent a lot of time on this, is trying to figure out how we do hybrid. And he spent a large part of the summer working on that. And it is more complicated than we would have expected to have a camera properly, have the system set up for that. So what we are trying to do is really in this resolution is hope that we are able to amend the open meetings law such that we are able to have all virtual meetings if needed. And that's not to take away from having the ability to have an in-person meeting. But if we do have virtual meetings, that will be counted as an official meeting, and people who attend virtually be counted as a quorum. And we do leave the option open for a hybrid. If you think that we should kind of clarify what hybrid means, we can add that. We can have a proposal right now to amend the resolution to maybe be more descriptive. But what we've been hearing from good government groups, Harvey spoke extensively about this at our meeting on Tuesday, and this is understandable, that a lot of good government groups, believe that we should be having in-person meetings because that's where they can have access to community board members, their elected officials. And this law applies to everybody in the state. It's not just community boards. And actually community boards is kind of the area that hasn't been discussed as much in terms of when the good government groups are proposing. But our issue is that it's very hard for us to find a space that's big enough to accommodate all of us in a full board meeting. And the virtual meetings have shown that we've had more public attendance, we've had better participation, and it allows for people who normally could not make evening meetings to attend. And so we want to be able to have that option.
Thank you, Reshma. We have another question from B. B, go ahead.
It's not a question. I was going to actually address the issue of hybrid. And I think hybrid means a combination of both. But I do think it's going to be very difficult to do hybrid meetings. I want to echo from a technology point of view. And Harvey actually had that discussion with us, that he knew that it was not going to be easy. So I support the resolution as it is. And I think we need to get something quickly. I too support having the governor, if she can, extend this for a period of time. We don't know if that's legally possible, but we need to get a resolution out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. And yes, one of the things that Jesus and I have been working on has actually been experimenting with hybrid over the past couple of months. And as the borough president mentioned, they've been investing in some technology as well to assist with that. So we don't know until we try. So Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, and I think you just touched on it, Kyle, that the borough president did say that there was going to be some training on the use of hybrid. And I think that'll help us a lot. They do want to make sure that there's equitable access here, so that somebody who doesn't have access to a computer has a place to go where they can observe the meeting in person or in a shared situation. So we've still got some things to work out, but the situation right now isn't perfect. Even before this was happening, some people could not get to meetings one way or another. So we may have to have it's going to be a less than perfect world, but it's the right time to be exploring how do we get the public able to observe meetings and to participate to the level that's appropriate to that meeting. And I think that will be happening over the next few months. We're going to be really delving into that. So I think we're on the right path.
John?
Yeah, I agree with both Rich and B, and I call the question unless someone else feels that they need to speak urgently.
John is called to question. Is that seconded?
I'll second.
Someone tell me who that was.
It was Wells.
Wells has seconded. Thank you. Please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 8A. And once you have completed your vote for resolution 8A, you now may hit submit. And those who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. And while people are doing that, Rick, do you have a committee report?
No, I'll waive anything further. I think being the last on the agenda is never a nice thing to be.
Well, you got one more. You're not the.
Oh, okay, good.
You're off the hook. All right, thank you very much. And we'll move on to public safety. Matt?
Given that it's 8 minutes after 9, I'm going to waive my report.
Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it. All right, we're now to old or new business. So board members, if you have any old or new business to state, please raise your hand through Zoom. Yes, Lou?
Could I get a little help? I haven't been able to get to the ballot to mark it physically.
Sure.
Maybe somebody could give me a little help.
Yes. Can someone from the board office help with Lou individually? Or alternatively, we can do it verbally during the second roll call, Lou. Would you prefer that?
Whatever is convenient.
All right, so I'll have the board office determine what's more convenient.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other old or new business? All right, seeing none, we'll now move on to the second roll call.
We can submit now, right?
Yep, yeah, you could submit before. So.
If you all don't mind, I'm going to ask Jesus to go ahead and do that roll call this time as well because of my technical issues.
Sure thing. All right, members, I will now call on you for the second roll call. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so now. And I will remind you if we get your name in the roll call and you have not submitted the ballot. All right, let's start from the end of the alphabet this time. Todd L. Winfield. Ronnie White.
Present.
Thank you. Laura Wong.
Present.
Thank you. Brian Van Nieuwenhoven.
Present.
Thank you. Corinne Vanderdonk.
Present.
Thank you. Mark Thompson. Are we still having audio issues with Mark Thompson?
Mark, if you confirm during the chat, maybe. Yeah. I see someone who appears to be Mark, so. That's definitely him, yeah.
All right. Anju Suresh.
Present.
Thank you. Susan
Nice
Steinberg.
for him to go backward.
Present.
For the end of the alphabet.
Letty Simon.
Still here.
Thank you. Sandro Sherrod.
I am here as well. But I'll take a quick second to just say thank you to all those who have served and happy Veterans Day.
Thank you. Sean Sherman.
Present. Seconded.
Thank you. Thema Shaw is still not here. All right. Lou Sapersky.
Yo, and I missed the link to the written ballot, so I may have to do this orally at the end.
Okay. I see that it was sent to you again about a minute ago, so check your. Brendan, did you send it by DM or by email?
I'll submit it by in the chat, but we can also submit it via email if that helps.
All right. Well, we'll get back to it when we're finished with the roll call. Ann Seligman. Ann Seligman. All right. Larry Shire.
Present.
Gene Santoro is not able to be here tonight. Matt Roberts.
Still here.
Thank you. Reshma Patel.
Here.
Thank you. Stephen O.
Present.
Thank you. Kevin O'Keefe.
Present.
Thank you. Raj Nayar.
Present.
Thank you. Phil Napolitano. I'm not here. Rich Mintz.
Present.
Thank you. Wells Magali.
Present.
Thank you. Sandra McKee.
Present.
Thank you. Kavitha Matthew.
Present.
Anton Molnar,
Present.
Sandra Leftoff,
Here.
thank you. Abigail Cruzmark,
Here.
thank you. John Keller,
Present.
thank you. Paige Judge,
Here.
thank you. Molly Hollister,
Here.
thank you. Adam Hartkey is not able to be here tonight. Andrew Gross, I guess is not here. Eric Goldberg,
Present.
thank you. Charles Fernandez,
Present.
thank you. Richard Eggers,
Present.
thank you. Jeannie D'Onofrio,
Present.
thank you. B. Disman,
Present.
thank you. Dan Devine. Dan Devine. Michael Devereaux,
Present.
thank you. Stuart Desser,
Here.
thank you. Jim Collins,
Yeah, I'm here.
thank you. Claire Brennan,
I'm here too.
thank you. Matt Bondi,
I'm here.
okay, thank you. Elvi Barroso,
I'm here.
thank you. Martin Barrett,
Present.
thank you. Neil Barkley,
Present.
thank you. Aziabadi is not able to be here tonight. Kyle Afide,
Present.
thank you. All right, we are missing Dan Devine. Have you submitted your ballot? I don't see one for you. Is Dan Devine still here?
See, Dan Devine is here, but
All right, Dan Devine, please submit your ballot if you are here and vote. Lou, were you able to find that link? All right, Lou, were you able to
Find that.
Okay.
are you muted?
Yeah.
Are you filling it out, Lou?
I can't, I don't know where it is.
I emailed the ballot to you. It was also sent to you in the chat on Zoom. So it's been sent two ways to you.
Okay, well then let's just take Lou's vote aloud on the record. 1 second. It might just be easier that way. Lou, what do you vote on the resolution 1A regarding the school crossing guard? Hello, Lou.
I voted yes.
Okay. What do you vote on the bundle of resolutions for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I?
Yes. Voted yes.
Okay. Let me mark those 1 second. What do you vote on resolution 4H?
Yes.
Okay. What do you vote on resolution 7A?
Yes.
All right. And what do you vote on resolution 8A?
Yes.
All right. I have recorded your
I'll cut a
vote.
deal. I'll cut a deal with the office if somebody tomorrow or the day after will, not tomorrow, but Friday, will give me a brief orientation on how to do this in the written ballots. I'd be much obliged. I'd be very grateful.
We're happy to do that. Yeah, Brendan will reach out to you when we're open again on Friday. And
Thank you.
All right, and I see we got Dan Devines finally. So that means, let me look. Yes, we have everyone's ballots. So I'll call the votes.
And we have a puppy.
Resolution 1A passes with 43 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, no non-entitles. Resolution 4A passes with 42 in favor, none opposed, 1 abstention, no non-entitled. Resolution 4B passes, 43 in favor, none opposed, no abstentions, no non-entitles. Resolution 4C passes, 42 in favor, no opposed, 1 abstention, no non-entitles. Resolution 4D passes, 43 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, no non-entitles. Resolution 4E passes, 43 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions, 0 non-entitled. Resolution 4F passes, 43 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, no non-entitled. Resolution 4G passes, 42 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention, 0 non-entitled. Resolution 4H passes, 36 in favor, 4 opposed, 3 abstentions, and 0 non-entitled. Resolution 4I passes, 43 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions, 0 non-entitled. Resolution 7A passes, 37 in favor, 3 opposed, 3 abstentions, 0 non-entitled. And lastly, Resolution 8A passes, 43 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions, and 0 non-entitles. That's it.
Thank you very much, Jesus. And just before we conclude our meeting tonight, I just want to congratulate again the new executive committee for this year, which officially took over on November 1st. So I want to thank everybody from the previous executive committee for their service and their continued contributions on this board. And want to thank the entire board for the faith that they have shown in our leadership and look forward to working with this executive board for the next year. So thank you, everybody, and congratulations again to this new executive committee. Now that we are at the end, if there are no objections, we will adjourn this meeting. And
Happy Veterans Day, everyone.
Yep, and happy Veterans Day. And seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:21 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
And happy
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
and